Hello everyone. We are going to use ChatGPT and two human brains to optimize queries. Actually, very simple queries, Postgres queries. We will check simple plans starting from very trivial ones and see what GPT-4 can give us. We have a limit because they experience high volumes right now. Michael couldn't register in their paid version. I have paid version, but it says we have a cap of 25 messages every 3 hours. So once we reach limit, we either need to stop or we will switch to version 3.5. In my opinion, version 4 is much better. And at least it doesn't try to convince me that I can use hints without any extensions in Postgres, because version 3.5 did exactly this. It tried to convince me. So I have some example. We will start checking it. Let me quickly show you what I have. Okay. It looks like I will need to switch between various screens. First, this is console. Can you see it, Michael?
Yeah, I can.
Great. So I'm going to create a table with 3 columns, right? ID 4. Create that timestamp, default clock timestamp. So we have different values for each row, and that's why insert is slightly slower. Company ID and sale time. And we fill it with ID. It's sequential, big serial, old school. I still cannot get used to new approach with generated IDs. So we select some random number for company ID. We also move us slightly to the past by random number of days for yeah, and also clock timestamp here also will generate some. It will clock timestamp, unlike now, generates new random value for each row. Right, so we have the different values for each sale time, and that's it. ID and create that are filled automatically. Now let's vacuum analyze it. This table only now has primary key. That's it. Sales. Will take some time, very quickly. And now let's check very simple. Actually, let's check which company ID got most the biggest number of sales, because we generated it. Order by to desk. Don't write this in production. Order by to, this is bad style, but it's not production. So okay, this company has biggest number of sales. So we will use this ID in our queries. First, very simple example. We will try to do this, right? And obviously we have sequential scan. This query, what is this query? It's select number of sales for particular company ID. Since our schema is missing an index on company ID, Postgres needs to perform parallel sequential scan, and it's not good, right? A lot of buffers, so
very inefficient. Yeah,
right. We read the whole table.
It's
very slow. We have small table, only 10 million rows, right? Yeah, 10 million rows. So that's why it's quite fast, but it's not what you want in production. And now I'm going to grab this query, this plan, actually, only plan, not query, and switch to ChatGPT 4 and ask it a couple of things. First, I will tell that I have Postgres plan as see below.
I think you can put it all in one message, by the way. I've had success.
Yeah, but once I sent one message, yeah, we need to we have only 25 messages. So.
Yeah.
provide something wrong with my computer again. It's slow. Provide a summary. Let's make it more challenging and ask to provide a summary max 100 words. So very brief summary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have issues with performance on my machine, not on Postgres. And propose optimization, provide code snippets. So I can copy paste, right? And now we send this. Let's see. Okay. Let me know what you think about it.
Is it given? Is it stopped? Oh no, okay, it's still going. Great.
It's slow. I have issues maybe on my computer, actually, not on.
Or maybe they do. But yeah.
What do you think about it?
This one it seems to have done quite well on.
Yeah.
As in, I'm not sure. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I guess we didn't ask for why this would help. But yeah, seems good to me.
Do you think this is a good advice?
I don't think it's necessary, but
it's
equally,
not necessary at all, because
it's
necessary. Oh, sorry, I'm interrupting.
It's also not dangerous, though, right?
But it's it won't help at all because we already have statistics, right? So yeah. So it's, and I noticed it always try to suggest this, but okay. So in our case, we don't need to gather statistics again because we don't use expression here. If we use expression here, we would be lacking statistics, proper statistics. Okay, let's try then, right? So I'm returning to my lost it. Sorry, returning to my PSQL session. We create index without any analyze. Obviously, we will have much better plan. Yeah. So it works, right? And we can conclude that ChatGPT is working pretty well. We don't need the DBAs anymore.
Yeah. By the way, if I seem a bit underwhelmed by that, that's only because I've seen this quite a few times already. I think it is pretty impressive that with very little real world, and I know it's got a lot of data, but not very many query plans that are public with solutions available in terms of what would have helped to speed them up. So I think it's pretty impressive that it can even do this, personally.
Let's spend one more message out of our 25 and ask why doesn't this help. I'm curious what it will answer.
Bonus points if it mentions buffers.
Yeah. So it's quite slow. It worked faster earlier today.
But yeah, reasonable reply, I think. I can see why you limited it to 100 words before.
Yeah, it can explain things I don't want to.
It mentioned buffers at the end.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So, okay, let's try more complicated case, more complex query, and I'm going to use more filters and order by and limit. So this is my query. Here it is. This is my query. We are going to count again sales for this company, where sales time is this. Actually, let's not count because limit 500 doesn't not. Let's select all rows from sales for this given company, where sale time is quite fresh.
Again, and don't do this in production.
Why?
Select star.
Well, Well, okay, we can talk about it later, but okay. I gave up 10 years ago. Select star
Okay.
is better than listing all columns all the time. At least it doesn't consume space. But I agree. I understand what you're saying, but it's another story. So we have a company ID filter, one more filter, but it's not operators greater than, and we order by different timestamp. So we have two timestamps and game here, and then we limit 500. So I think we will see the same index which we just created in play, but of course this is I will let you explain what's happening here, because yeah.
Can we see the number of? Are we doing loops or no? I don't think we are
No
we?
loops, no loops.
So it's. I've called this an inefficient index scan in the past, and in tips we provide within our product. So we're still having to scan a lot of data. We're having to walk a lot of this index in order to. Well, we're filtering out, what is that? Nearly 2,000 rows to return how many? I can't see the row count on my screen.
Rows 500 everywhere. Here, yeah.
8,000.
Yeah,
So
8,000. This is
it's
all
not
sales
hideous.
for this company. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're filtering out 2,000 to return 8,000. Not that bad, actually.
Could be worse.
Could be much worse.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
maybe this isn't a bad plan.
It's not that bad plan, but it can be worse. It's just random data. In reality, it can be several millions and sparsely stored. So we
Yeah,
need to deal with a lot of buffers, and it can become seconds already, and so on.
no
So
doubt there are optimizations, right? But it's an interesting case.
okay. So now switching to this. Oh, you wanted to add something else?
Just please
Like
at the end.
explain why you think ideas will work.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I kind of keen to understand.
Yeah, let's see. The first sentence already wrong because it's missing the filter on sale timestamp. This filter, right? It's already wrong here. So it's already moving away from reality a little bit, right? Okay.
Oh wait, it's still going.
Multi-column index. It suggested two-column index only. Interesting.
1 second.
Interesting.
As it covers the. It also doesn't mention any of the downsides of adding indexes, which is it's obviously a lot of the time they're worth it for if you've got a read heavy workload or this is a really important query, but it doesn't even mention it, which is an interesting thing, I think, for beginners especially to be aware of.
Yeah, okay, let's try this index. So the query again. It's indeed faster, right? But still not super cool because we have in-memory sort.
Similar number of buffer hits as well, 8,000 versus. But how many was it before actually?
Let's check here. It was almost 10,000. Now it's 8,000+. So very similar, right?
But
so if everything
faster.
is cached, it's timing will be also similar. It's faster because that one was not cached originally. Let's drop the index. Are
you sure? Because I'm
sure.
Didn't see many shared red.
Look, I'm dropping the index, checking the query again, and it's already 13 milliseconds because now it's all hits.
Yeah,
almost 10,000, but 13 milliseconds. I create index again. and we have situation ChatGPT recommended. What do you think about this optimization idea? For this query?
Whoa, good, but maybe not optimal, right? Like, is it?
Yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
filter already, which is good, right? So
Yep.
index works well, but then we need to sort in memory.
So as you mentioned, I think you were hinting at it earlier. There's a possibility of being able to do probably a 3-column index might be able to avoid the sort as well.
Right. So look at this. We have we fetched all rows, and then we apply in memory sort. It's very similar to filter. It's also suboptimal, right? Because I would like to see that we fetch 500 rows and that's it, no more, right? This would be ideal. Okay, let's ask ChatGPT here and see if it can help with optimization.
Again, though, I think you need to be quite advanced as a user to realize, like, to keep going at this stage, to not stop. You might be happy that you've got this massive speed up and you'd stop.
Okay. Let's see. The current, query plan is already efficient. No. Well, it thinks 17 milliseconds is fine. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we would show a rows discarded tip on the like nearer the end of the plan, because we're throwing away 7,500 out of 8,000 rows.
Yeah. So
again, with analyze.
Here we go. Before we check this, let's already
this is
check
wrong as well, by the way. It's calling it a covering index, which I don't think this is, I don't know. I don't know about the strict definition, but I think this is a I think covering is if you include them. Is that right? Rather than putting them in the index.
Let's check what your product would recommend here. I'm curious.
You cropped. It's not. You only copied part of the plan.
I see. My bad. What I'm missing?
See, after the actual time, 16.993.17.0 on the row 3 or 4.
Wow, it's because of it's because of this PSPG we discussed.
Oh, really?
So this is great. So ChatGPT doesn't care, right?
Oh wow, you pasted that into chat. So it didn't even have all the information. Wow.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. This is okay. This is interesting. It doesn't care. I can work with part of information and even don't mention that it's not full. Of course, because I'm AI language model, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who are new to PG Master, 5 means the worst, which is the best
tip,
when we optimize.
The best advice that we have for speeding up your query. Yeah.
Biggest potential, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we should pay attention. And they actually got close. So rows discarded and read efficiency. Let's read details here. Push this filter far down to how to push this filter. I always ask this question. So just some
indexing, right? But
yeah, but
we could be better there.
Yeah. I'm just this comment applies to many other. Actually, ChatGPT recommended something similar, like push further. Okay, how?
There's only one further step it can go down, and that's to the index scan.
Well,
right?
that's it. That's right. Only index scan. Yeah. Filters can be applied late. Okay. So, can you explain this in normal English?
But that's what I'm trying to do, so I could clearly do better in the product.
Right.
Rows discarded is often an indexing opportunity, right? So it's ways of filtering down to fewer rows earlier in the query plan. There are other alternatives, like sometimes you've got a sub query You could put a limit on that so you have fewer rows in the first place. But indexing is the most common way to filter down to a smaller set earlier, so that we don't have to throw away that. So you mentioned this 8,000 rows that we're having to scan initially. It would be nice if we only had to scan the 500. How do you only scan the 500?
Michael, I'm very unexperienced Postgres backend engineer.
Oh,
what should I do? What should I do? Just tell me.
So it's worth looking at the other tip as well, the read efficiency.
Back to summary and here. Okay, more words to read. Okay.
Yeah.
This is good.
But yeah, it's good in terms of data, but it's not going to tell you just add this index. I actually think that's a bit dangerous. I think it's also tricky to know for sure, based on distribution, which order the column should be in, that kind of thing can be tricky to know with very limited information. So I think actually Depez has a really good article on why it's difficult to recommend indexes. How do you know when to recommend a partial index versus a multi-column index? There's, depending on people's trade-offs or what people exactly need, it can be tricky. But yeah, I can also see it the other way around.
Let me explain in regular English, probably with some accent, right? So if it was a heap only without any indexes, this means that we store roughly 1 row per block. It's very sparsely stored right now, right? And that's not good. This is what it's saying, basically. Try to achieve more compact storage, more rows per target rows per page. So probably it should mention cluster. Well, yes, it's mentioning cluster, but we actually this explanation didn't consider index. So if we talk about index, it says maybe bloat is there. Okay, reindex or PG repack probably, right? Okay.
It is sometimes hard to tell the difference at this level, but not in combination with the other one.
Yeah. But I think this is great idea. But for example, I have various queries. I cannot cluster just for one query, for example. We have different situations. So probably this is definitely additional idea. But what about the first idea? First idea, I guess it's about let's do everything in one index scan, right? And we should return to the idea of 3-column index, right?
Yeah.
3-column index. This 3-column index, now disclaimer. I failed initially. I was thinking this is a good idea to use this index. And this is basic optimization case, basically, right? So this index is not going to work. And we will see it in a moment. Yes. Why? Because we use this operator here. And when we apply it to filters, we cannot understand how to order them, because not all entries in index on this second layer I'm
with you now. Both are ordered. We're ordering by created at, but we need to be able to order on sale time.
Right. So it's not an order, it's greater than, but this is a problem. Let's try it. Let's try it and we will see. Also, to recover in terms of self-esteem, I asked a couple of probably the best guys I'm talking to who are much bigger Postgres experts than I. One explained immediately, but another did not. So it's quite interesting case. Actually, they are also explained quite well after additional questions, but initially also quite semi-failed. So let's see. Now, we see that which index is using, it's old index is being used, right? But I wonder why we have
extremely slow.
Yeah, worse. So we created index called company ID cell time first, and then we created additional company ID cell time created at, and it's still using old index, but became slower, right?
Try it again, because there was some. Oh wait, you did try it again. I saw some.
Try it again.
I saw some dirty buffer hits in the planning. It felt like something else was going on.
By the way, I have PSPG here. I like it a lot. So we have horizontal scrolling with it.
Yeah.
And to switch back, I use this.
Oh,
now
nice.
I have regular, so I can switch. This is how, this is better for copy pasting, but not for reading sometimes.
Yeah.
So it depends. Okay.
I have to admit, I am struggling a bit when it changes so quickly, but that's, what's the question then? Why is this so slow?
Yeah, it's slower than before. We don't use new index here. It's old index. What's happening?
Okay, interesting.
Let's check. Before we created index, we had this plan, right? And it lasted 17 milliseconds. Same number of.
And we still have the old index in place.
Yes.
So it's used like cost-wise,
okay,
it must be
faster. Let's ignore timing, right? Like I have busy machine. I've noticed even M1 MacBook cannot handle Zoom screen sharing properly, not being slow.
Wow.
So let's ignore timing, and this is what I think we should do always when we are in non-production environment, where like shared environment, and let's focus on buffer hits. In this case, we have 8,300, and we had similar number, right? So it didn't change a lot, but we still use the old index. New index is not used at all, right? And this is a problem. So let's now give one more chance to ChatGPT. I don't know if it will work, but let's try. This index didn't work. Do you have more ideas? Let's see. And you need to check the chat we have.
Wow, this is not true at all. Oh, okay, it got there, but still. I'll try and check chat now.
So it suggests the same index again, right?
So far.
And then cluster. Well, cluster, the problem is that this index is not working at all. Clustering, I would leave, like I would not touch it. Say we could not use it, we don't have PG repack installed, and cluster is going to block us. It's not a live operation, we cannot deploy it, so it's out of scope. And I know that there is some index, 3-column index, which will help. Can you guess which one? Let's make it like a riddle or puzzle for this ChatGPT thing. Let's ask. I know that I know that some 3-column index can help. Can you guess which one? Hint: we just need to change order of
ordering.
columns.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is another case where
now it works. It worked exactly like one of those experts I talked this morning to. So
well, that's not a bad.
Well, but no. Desk is not. This is a wrong idea again. In our query we order by accidentally. We don't need a reverse order here. It's wrong idea. I'm not going to use it. So, but you see, it's quite good, right? So like like moderate expert, I would say.
If you know what to ask it, if you know how to prompt it, and that's where I think it's like a
I cheated.
Really dangerous thing for. Go on.
Yeah. I cheated because I told there is some index that I know that will help. Can you guess now? So it was not a normal situation. Let's create this index, but without desk. So I don't know how to reach this point. So ChatGPT suggests this index because so it's my idea, not ChatGPT's idea. And this, of course, helps a lot. Can you see?
Yeah, down to 500 buffers.
Total. No more sort, normal filtering, index scan, everything here. All right. So we basically, it filters on company ID, then it goes and it extracts.
You can see that.
500
you can see that
rows.
in the index condition.
Where? You mean here? Right. Yeah. But
And importantly, no filter, no sort. In fact, the limit is probably not. Yeah.
Turn off it. But it doesn't say anything about create that it uses for ordering. The trick here is that it uses filter, then it already uses second layer of index to benefit from it to have ordered entries as by create that
Good
timestamp.
point. What happens if, can you run it again with verbose? I wonder.
Verbose what?
So
here. Yeah, sure.
Explain, analyze verbose. I don't think. Okay, so it's just I was thinking of the output. You can see, but it's not
index scan. It's not index only scan, so it deals with heap as well, right? But the trick here is that it's hidden here. The trick is that we benefit from having create that as a second layer in index, and we extract only 500 rows. That's it.
Yeah.
So, quite interesting case, right?
I think so. And I think this is like, it's a bit of a trick one, right? But it's also really common. People get the ordering. People don't realize how important the ordering is of multi-column indexes.
We all know that we can like use filter on one column and use 2 column indexes, the index which has this column on first place, but not on the second. In most cases, so this is quite well-known thing. But here, because of this greater than operator, this is very basic example, right? So I think it's very interesting example. So yeah, and but the index ChatGPT suggested, right? I'm going to drop my index and just double check that drop index.
Oh, the desk one.
Desk one, it won't work, right? Let's check.
I don't think so. Well, my head hurts thinking about these things.
Let's give one.
My guess is it would be in the wrong. It would be inefficient again.
Let's give one more chance to ChatGPT. Well, it works. Right. It's just backward. So it worked as well. Right. It worked as well. Backward scanning. Right.
Is that because the greater than is the first thing we're looking at, or is it because it's the other way around?
No. I'm mostly interested in this because we have created ask and our index we just created. We have created as desk. So I was expected we'll have an issue, but we don't have an issue because it just uses index scan backward. Right. So yeah, it's interesting. And so ChatGPT also won, but after some hint, I said one of 3 index cases, at least one, can work well. Can you tell which one? And it succeeded. Interesting, right?
So if in doubt, tell ChatGPT that you know. So if you're doing this in real life, tell it there is a solution and maybe it'll get there.
You know what I'm thinking right now? Since we have a bot as well, it's called JawBot, which works with thin clones. I'm thinking to ask these guys to work together. This is my idea right now. We are experimenting. So because Jaw can check it can check ideas.
Yeah.
And collect reliable data, buffer numbers, timing as well, actually, and the plans. So if ChatGPT has a few ideas, we can check them automatically. You remember this Dexter project?
Automatic indexing.
It was quite brute force, but with HyperPG, it's quite non-expensive because with hypothetical indexes, you can check many index ideas. And it was an interesting project, right? So now with ChatGPT, if it provides some ideas, we can check them on clones very quickly without maybe even human involvement, and then already have some vetted ideas, like verified ideas, right? What do you think?
I think so. I need to write a blog post on this. Basically, I have some strong opinions in this area. Naturally, I think with performance, there's a risk that we think what we're aiming for is minimum average time, minimum latency on average, mean latency. And in reality, I think what people really want is predictable performance. So even if the mean is a bit higher, just don't have too big a standard deviation. Don't have any like performance cliffs where it's a real shock. And I think the problem you get into with the automation of these things, because there are downsides sometimes to creating these things, is that you send somebody over a performance cliff. And I was talking to a customer of one of these AI tuning services, and they were in the process of canceling because every time they then had a performance issue from then on, they thought they swore and said, "Oh, what has so and so changed now?" And it was a case of no longer trusting that the system would perform. I know with Postgres, you do still have some of these cliffs, right? Like as you grow, you're going to have plans flip on you and things. It's not perfect, but if something else is in the background changing things, every now and again, it's hopefully most of the time it will change things for the better. But when it changes things for the worse, you're in a much worse position because it's doing it anyway. Yeah. So unless you can control those parameters, I think it's a dangerous game to play. And I think the thing that I didn't realize until getting deep into this was that people don't want perfect, like optimal mean performance. That's not like, and that's what most of us are going to strive for when we're building tools for this. It's how do we make it faster? How do we make it faster? How do we make it faster? But we forget there are other trade-offs, and it's not always about.
There are trade-offs is a very interesting topic, and indeed, we sometimes can lose, for example, hot updates if we create additional index, or any index has a cost of in terms of write operations, right? It's like it needs to be maintained. So, but in general, I think I still think it's a good idea to have AI generating some ideas in the brainstorm mode when we don't criticize, right? In brainstorm mode, we don't criticize. This is what I learned from like working in bigger companies with bigger companies and so on. And
I completely agree.
And then we just ask our think cloning thing to check them. Or Neon, for example, with branching is the same thing. They can do it as well. If someone from Neon is watching us, they also like would like to talk to you as well, guys. It's an interesting idea. So we can verify ideas for real using real Postgres, real execution plans, probably different in terms of caching, maybe file system. In our case, we have different file system in non-production, but plan will be the same because executor is the same. Planner is the same. This is more important. And we have some chat. Kirk is driving our chat right now. So I need to comment about analyze. We didn't analyze after index creation because it's not needed, in my opinion, because we have already statistics for each column. And if index even if it's like 2-column, 3-column index, we don't need statistics for those columns. It's already there. By the way, it's good to think about multi-column statistics here, right? Create statistics. We didn't check this idea. Maybe it's worth checking. Yeah.
We didn't have bad. We didn't. I don't think we had bad row estimates. If it was choosing the wrong, if it was choosing one index versus another, yeah. But we didn't see that problem. But it didn't mention it, and there was no way of finding out. So I think my theory at the moment is this is more valuable the more experienced you are. So for very, very experienced folks or makers of software like yourself that can then work out how to translate that, it can be extremely powerful. So the more experienced you are, it's like having somebody a little less experienced than you give you some ideas. But that doesn't help people. Like most people I come across are right at the beginning of their journey with this. But most engineers don't have much database experience, and they can really do with really the basics. And I think for them, this isn't much help because they can't see when it's clearly wrong or when it's clearly like hallucinating, I think you called it. And they don't necessarily like I think it's very hard to get it to teach you why it's doing those things, because I'm not 100% sure it understands why that works.
Yeah. Well, to finish about analyze, we do need analyze after index creation if it's index on expression, because for expression we need to collect separate statistics to make index work properly. Right. So I usually run analyze only after I bootstrapped my test setup with vacuum to have visibility maps. And that's it. If I don't have, well, actually, you know what? The rule of thumb, run, explain, always, don't think about it. This is easier to remember. Right?
It's analyze always.
Analyze always. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
That's why ChatGPT also suggests analyze. Okay, but we know how it works. It works processing a lot of discussions on forums, various blog posts, and so on. So based on that, it did quite good job today with these examples. We already more than 1 hour. Do you think if that's it, right? No more examples.
No, no more example. We can do another time, maybe.
Okay, let's do. Okay, so what else in chat? Gentlemen, are you hiring? We have hiring on Postgres AI. I'm not sure about Michael. You can check.
I'm not, I'm afraid.
Website. Yeah, and about Explain enhancements for PSQL, I guess. This is great. I think, Kirk, we need to talk about it another time, because I think it would be great to find a way how to extend PSQL, probably to work with ChatGPT or some others right from PSQL, right? Imagine if I send and have response. It's quite easy to do it, by the way, with some hacky way. If PSQL supported plugins, it would be really great, but it's another story. By the way, check out our podcast this Friday, because we talk about PSQL and versus UI with Michael on Postgres.fm. Yeah, so, and tomorrow, if everything is fine, we will have a hacking session once again. Kirk, you're welcome to join if you want. We will try to do something with our common tech extensions and so on. So what do you think overall about like our session today? It was pretty simple examples, of course, right? Few lines of SQL, but in general, summary, it was not that bad. I understand your points, like it's dangerous, but still.
So I think for more advanced folks, it's really powerful as another tool to check, right? I still think there's a lot of value to understanding plans a little bit, to think of optimization from first principles. Where's the most time going? What's doing the most like reads? What's my bottleneck? And trying to then like work backwards. But for a lot of people, this is going to save them a lot of time, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, exactly. If I still think for non-experts it can be useful, but it requires additional mechanisms around to check and filter out wrong ideas. And also humans can recommend wrong things sometimes, right?
100%. No, 100% they can. It's more that we didn't see a red herring here, right? We didn't see a time where it led us completely down the wrong path. And those are the times where I think people are going to lose confidence or think that it's them that got it wrong, or waste a lot of time, maybe hours, trying to work out why this thing didn't work when they thought it would based on some advice. So I think those red herrings or false positive advice I've seen in a lot of other ChatGPT examples, not Postgres query plans as much, was actually one or two, but we didn't see it here with indexing, but with other things, it can really hallucinate and tell you some things that are harmful. And it's in those cases that I'm worried that people will end up doing more harm than good, and then lose a lot of confidence or lose a lot of time, or both. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious on the beginner front.
Yeah, and actually, last thing I wanted to share, we can talk to ChatGPT like that. I saw it in some case, and it's like quite interesting. So, okay, yeah. So it's pretending it's PSQL, right? So if I create table T, empty table as I like to do, it will answer me, right? Create a table, insert into T, select I from generate. Should be fast, right? It's not inserting anything for real. So it's working, right? And if I select count from T, it's working, but it's not Postgres. it's amazing, actually.
Just
sometimes
pretending.
If you continue, at some point it will start to provide some very strange answers.
Can you do it? Explain.
Yeah, let's try. Let's first see version.
That will surely be
I asked
nonsense.
15.2.
Nice.
Nice, yeah. explain select from T where what, like this.
Whatever, yeah.
Okay, let's see. The plan should be sequential scan, right? We filtering out all except one row. Sequential scan. How is it possible, right?
Well, I don't
Magic.
think this is what you'd see. You'd probably unless you'd set max parallel work, like you're probably going to see a parallel plan. Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah, you would. I think.
Okay. It's not real Postgres. It's
I
hallucinated
know.
Postgres.
It's still quite cool.
It's
I wonder
quite
if the
cool.
costs are accurate.
Yeah.
I don't know them well enough to know for sure. Well, and its syntax highlighting is a bit interesting as well. Which things it's choosing
Rows
to highlight.
one, filter, everything matches, right? I actually didn't try it on GPT-4. I tried it on 3.5 and easily reached the point when it started to provide some weird stuff. But so far it's working. What?
Those timings are a little bit ambitious.
Ambitious. Well, it's very powerful supercomputer. You see, it's already it cannot provide \d. Okay. Typically.
Interesting
Okay.
and fun.
So I agree with you about experts, and actually it's quite dangerous for experts as well. For example, in my company, I already told folks that we should use it all the time, but with rule, if you use it talking to clients, you need to verify yourself very carefully all pieces of advice first, and then before sending. And if you send something just copy pasting, you need to write, this is from GPT, it's not my idea. This
Nice.
rule, if we follow this rule, it's fine. But I see some danger suggesting something not verifying, right?
Yep.
But potential is huge. We saw it, right? Yeah, Kirk, I don't know how it did it, but it did it. Just try. So you just go to ChatGPT and say, talk to me like you are Postgres. Format as PSQL, don't provide any comments. That's it, and it's magic. Okay, enough, guys. We are already 1 hour and 10 minutes. I hope you enjoyed. Tell us what you think in comments. See you soon. Thank you, Michael.